I like history and came this close to making it the focus of my doctoral work. Here's a little history for you. Did you know that 54 years ago, this week, there was a little game being played that was called the first Super Bowl? I know that it was actually the AFL NFL World Championship game and only retroactively called Super Bowl I. The contestants were the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. And the winning quarterback of that game was a guy named Bart, as in Bart Starr, as in the guy I was named after. This week, the contestants will once again be the Kansas City Chiefs, but alas, not the Green Bay Packers. Instead, it'll be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I so wanted it to be a repeat of that first Super Bowl, and am today wearing my colors, kind of as a way of showing my mourning. But alas, Green Bay didn't live up to my expectations. You can expect, however, that as a general rule, the second half will be the most exciting part of the game. That's because most games are won or lost in the second half. That's when the best strategies come to bear. That's when the sheer gritty will to win wins out. There is always something imminently hopeful about the second half, as if we're all given one more chance. In case you hadn't heard, we as a church are celebrating our 200th anniversary as a church. There have been a lot of wins during that time. We've overcome a lot. We've seen good times and hard times. We've seen our nation ripped apart by civil war. Our church, by the way, was not on the winning side of that war. We've seen our Methodist denomination torn in two, not once, not twice, at least 3 times, and then put back together again. We very well may be teeing up for a 4th time this year. We've seen now 2 pandemics. The first one came in 1918. Did you know that when that first pandemic hit, the mayor of St. Charles shut down all of the churches? We're still here. We've seen 2 world wars and a depression in between. Hard times, but we're still here. We've seen women get a vote. We're still here. We've seen African Americans get a vote. We're still here. We've seen civil rights and the Vietnam War and 9/11 and Afghanistan, and we're still here. I take a great deal of hope in our history, but we need not be defined by it. God has been with us, but God's not finished with us yet. I know that we're celebrating our 200th anniversary, but I prefer to think of this year as the start of the next 200 years, such that we don't have to look back and say we were there for the first 200 years, but rather that we were there to get started the next 200. Early in the 3rd quarter of Super Bowl I, Green Bay safety Willie Wood intercepted a pass and returned it for 50 yards to the 5-yard line. The turnover sparked the Packers, who would go on to score 21 unanswered points in the second half, and Bart would be named the MVP of that game. Gotta love the second half. I suspect that it's safe to say that the majority of us connecting on this devotional today are living in the second half of our lives? None of us who are watching know for sure, and each of us may well be in the second half. What will be your next half? Literally, as I was preparing this devotional, an article popped on my news feed entitled 5 Tips for Successfully Switching Careers in the New Year, according to career experts. Get clear on what it is you want, update your professional brand, understand the type of training or education that's needed, effectively communicate any transferable skills, and network. If I were translating these 5 tips into the language of faith, into theological God language, the language of discipleship, it might read 5 tips for God's second half of our lives. First, be clear about how God is calling you for the next half of your life. Second, renew your spiritual lives through prayer and worship and reading the Bible and living out daily the Christian faith. Third, commit to new learning as a disciple of Jesus Christ. What have you learned lately? What are you planning to learn? Fourth, witness your faith in word and deed. And 5, stay networked in community. Can we stay connected? Theologically, aren't we who are disciples by definition always living in the second half? We who were lost to sin are now being saved by grace and going on to perfection through faith. Gotta love that second half. Praise, praise, praise be to God.